Welcome back to Tanach and Tea. We got somebody walking in, Josh. All right, nice. All right, welcome back to Tanach and Tea. Thanks for everyone for coming. To all the new people that are here, welcome. We'll do a quick recap of everything just to get you up to speed. So far, we've covered two prakim. We've covered Perek Yud Zayin and Perek Yud Ches. You have Perek Yud Tes in front of you. Tonight, we're going to do the entire Perek Yud Tes. What happened in Perek Yud Zayin is that we got introduced to Shaul Hamelech, the current king of the Jews in the time period that we're talking about 3,000 years ago. And then we got introduced to Goliath. Everybody was afraid of him. David came on the scene, who, as we said, was secretly anointed by Shmuel. So nobody knows he's going to be the next king instead of Shaul's son, but he is going to be the next king. He defeats Goliath. It's a whole big miracle. It's a big deal. He cuts off his head, shoots him with a rock in a slingshot. Very famous story. And now we're dealing in the aftermath, in the post-Goliath world. What happens in Shaul's kingdom? And what happens is that David starts to become somebody. And he's becoming so big of a somebody that it concerns Shaul, the current king. And Shaul keeps on trying to kill him in private, meaning he doesn't want anybody to know. It would be bad for his PR if he kills the next big guy, right? It's kind of like if Shaq got Kobe traded, it would be bad for Shaq. Like all the Lakers fans would be mad at him. This is like an old school NBA muscle. But if Jimmy Butler got Bam Adebayo traded, everybody would be mad at Jimmy Butler, right? So there's a little bit of that. It'd be bad. So first he tries to kill him in private, and it doesn't work out. And every time he tries to kill him, he accidentally raises his profile because he tries to kill him by dangling a carrot in front of him, like, oh, be the head of this army, and that way I'll get him killed in war. But when it doesn't work out, he becomes more famous. Do this to marry my daughter. Do this dangerous mission to marry my daughter. Then do this more dangerous mission to marry this younger daughter because I lied to you and didn't give you the older daughter, whatever. So he keeps on raising his profile accidentally. With every failed killing, David gets more and more famous. And when we ended the last Perek, David now is really famous. And even worse than that, Shaul's own daughter, Michal, is married to David now and loves David. And Shaul's son, Yonatan, is supposed to be the next king, loves David and is best friends with him, and even made a secret pact with David that David will be the next king instead of him, which Shaul does not know. So that's kind of where we're holding. And now we're going to get to this breaking point of this relationship between this dynamic of Shaul and David. So let's jump into Perek Yud Tes. Vayidaber Shaul el Yonatan. So Shaul says to Yonatan, Beno, his son, V'es kol avadav, and to all of his servants, Lehamit es David, about killing David. Right? So at this point, Shaul is tired of trying to take out David himself. And you know what? Forget the PR. He doesn't care. He's so upset and so bothered by the situation that now it's all hands on deck. Whatever we can do to get David killed. So he speaks to Kol Avadim, all of his servants. But who does he turn to the most? He turns to his son Yonatan. Now the problem is Yonatan is David's best friend, right? Now, do you think David knows that Yonatan is his best friend? No. Your assumption would be, why would he turn to his son Yonatan? But he actually does. He actually does know how close David and Yonatan. But despite that, and he knows his daughter Michal, despite that, he turns to them to try to convince them about killing David, right? At the end of the day, they still are his son and his daughter. And maybe if you're a father, you'd hope to bank on your son once he knows your feelings to take your side in this, right? So he turns to Yonatan even though he knows their feelings. Now, does it work? Well, the pasuk says, "V'Yehonatan ben Shaul chafetz b'David ma'od." But Yonatan, Shaul's son, delighted with David. He still liked David, meaning the pasuk is telling us it did not work, and he liked him anyway, or maybe even liked him more now. Because what happens when somebody gets unjustly attacked? You like them more, right? That's what happens in politics. If a politician is attacked by people for no reason, it turns out to be false. It raises now people want to support him even more, right? So the fact that Shaul went to David and unjustly attacked him, welcome, and now he's actually causing Yonatan to like him more. Now, anybody notice anything interesting about the name Yonatan in this pasuk? It says the name Yonatan twice in this pasuk. Anybody notice anything about that? Spelled differently, right? What's the difference in the second time? It's a hey, Yehonatan, right? And you might know somebody named Yehonatan. Most people that are named after Yonatan, we say Yonatan, but maybe you know somebody named Yehonatan. Now that hey being added, it's similar to who in Tanach with an addition to their name. Avraham, Sarah, Yoshua, all these people, we don't call, you guys know anybody named Avram or Sarai or Hoshea, right? All these people, we call them by their new name. And it seems you would assume that Yonatan, his upgraded name is Yehonatan. And the Mom Loez actually comments over here that this is where his name is changed because of his sacrifice for David, that it goes from Yonatan to Yehonatan. But the problem with the Mom Loez telling us that is that it's not true. In that, if you look in the previous Perek, there's random psukim where he's called Yehonatan. And if you look later on, there's random psukim where he's called Yonatan. It totally switches, which is why you know people named Yonatan and not Yehonatan. It's not one of these name switches situation. I wish I could have an answer for you. This is like my biggest question that I've had throughout this whole thing in Tanach. I need to find somebody who knows Tanach Kol to find this answer. So I'm just putting it out there. If anybody knows why Yonatan is the exception to the rule of his name change, just swinging back and forth, and why it doesn't stick, and why we don't call everybody that's named Yonatan Yehonatan, and what exactly is, when is it Yonatan, when is it Yehonatan, let me know. I'm just putting it out there. It's been bothering me for a long time. It also bothers me that the Moam Loez even gives it a reason here that doesn't even line up. It says it as if this is the answer, but then we call him Yonatan in a couple of psukim. All right, that's just a PSA. Let's move on. Now, if you're Yonatan, what do you do here? Your dad just comes to you about wanting to kill your best friend. What do you do? Anybody ever had that issue? No? You might have had a much more small time issue where your dad's you can't have him over anymore. You know? But all right. If I gave Yehonatan le David, so Yonatan says to David, right? He goes to David. Lemer say mevakesh secretly. Shaul avi lametecha, my father Shaul wants to kill you. V'yate now, Yisharmarna, please watch over yourself. Boker in the morning, be yishavta and hide. Baseser b'nespesa, right? Go out to a secret place and hide. So his first thing is protect David, right? Because if he doesn't tell David won't know what's happening, and Shaul will just take him out. Now, Shaul is caught between two different obligations. What are the two obligations that he's caught between? What are the two obligations that Shaul is caught between? Right, so halakhic wise, it would be here, guys, take a sheet. So it would be he's kibbutav and some sort of yihafte l'recha kamokar, or more than that, don't let people die. I don't know what that mitzvah would be, but he's caught between two very serious things. He has to respect his father, and he has to protect his friend. It's a very difficult situation to be in. And if you look at his warning to David, he actually says two things to him. He says, "My father Shaul wants to kill you," right? But then he's also telling him who's he talking about? And he's talking about the king. So he's kind of giving him two messages here, which is that when he says, "My father Shaul wants to kill you," he's kind of telling him that it's only him. Meaning nobody else in the palace, all the important people, all the royals, all the aristocrats of the society back then, nobody wants to kill you, David. It's just my father Shaul. He's the only one who wants to kill you. At the same time, he is the king. So no one's going to get in his way, right? So it's just him, but this is the wrong person, right? If it's the king, nobody else is going to stick up for you, even though they don't want to kill you, right? Also, an interesting halacha we learn out of here is that you are allowed to say your father's name if he's not there. Meaning you're not allowed to say your father's name to your father, but you see Yonatan says, Shaul avi, my father Shaul. It's not disrespectful to say your father's name when he's not around. Just a side halacha that we learn from here. Anyways, let's continue. So Yonatan has a plan. Va'ani eitzei, and I will go out and stand alongside my father, basad in the field, asherata, about where you are. Meaning, go hide in the field, and then I'm going to take a walk with my father in that field. Va'ani adaber b'chal avi, and I will speak with my father about you. V'isama, we'll see what he says. V'gadalach, and I will tell you. Right? So he's going to take his father out in the field. David's going to be hiding in the field, and he's going to try to talk to his father. Knock some sense into him. That's his plan. And then afterwards, when Shaul leaves, he'll meet up with David and tells him what happens. This is similar to Yaakov when he wanted to speak a very important matter about leaving Lavan's house. He spoke with his wives, Rachel and Leah, out in the field. It's kind of like you never know who's listening if you're walking inside the house. You never, right? Nowadays, we especially know that with cameras and recordings or whatever. It's kind of like go out and make sure nobody hears this conversation. So Yonatan spoke Tov, well of David, Shaul to Shaul, David, his father. V'yomer, and he says, this is his argument. Elav ayachata, Hamelech b'avdo David. Let the king not sin or harm against his son, against his servant David. Kilocha talach, for he's not sinned against you. V'chi masov tov l'cha ma'od, and he's only tried to do well with you. Right? So he's trying to build an argument. He's trying to tell his father, he's never tried to do anything to you. He's been a loyal and good servant, right? Your fears about him are unfounded, right? Not just that, he even tells him, when you're depressed, right, and you need somebody to come play you music, who comes in and heals you? Who plays you music to get you right? It's David. You're killing your own doctor, right? We might not be able to find somebody who can play music like that for you. Okay, he's not done. He has a third reason, right? So first, he's loyal. Second reason is that you're killing your own doctor. Vayisem es nafsho, and he also endangered his life. B'kapo b'yadas haplishti, and he killed the plishti. V'yas Hashem teshua gadola, and Hashem caused a great miracle, a great salvation, l'chor Yisrael, for all of Israel. Re'isa, you saw it. V'tismach, and you celebrated it. V'lama, so why now? Sechata b'dam naki. Why now you're going to sin and spill innocent blood? Liamit es David chinam, and kill David without cause. This is what Yonatan says to his father Shaul. As you can see, they're probably pretty close, right? This is like very straightforward. He gives him three reasons. He even tells him, David's innocent. You're going to kill him without cause, right? What do you think Shaul's response to that would be? That he's guilty, right? Presumably what we know about Shaul, like he's like this hard-headed guy. Well, it's not his response. But Yishma Shaul listened, right? B'kol Yehonatan, to the voice of Yonatan. Vayishava, and he swore, Shaul swore, Chai Hashem, as Hashem lives, im yomus, he will not be put to death. Right? He even takes a shavua that he's not going to kill David. Pinky promise, yeah. So even takes a pinky promise that he's not going to kill David. Why do you think Shaul does that? Now, do you think Shaul is sincere? No? Raise your hand if you think Shaul is sincere. Jordan, what would be your case that Shaul is sincere?
He's a tzaddik after all.
You're saying the view that we have of Shaul is not, he's complex. He has great sides to him and bad sides to him. Right?
Couldn't have said it better myself.
All right. Anybody else? Like, why? Yeah.
Maybe means it in the moment, but he might get overcome by
Yeah. So that's why he did a shavua. I would compare Shaul to an addict. It's kind of like Shaul is a complicated guy. He's a good guy, but he has this addiction. Like, let's call it that. This spirit that comes over him that makes him depressed, that makes him want to kill David, and he kind of needs to fight that. Now, an addict, how many times does an addict go, I promise, I swear I'm never going to do it, right? It's kind of like, this is who he wants to be. This is the ideal him. When he hears the voice of Yonatan, his son, he is convinced. This is like Shaul's ideal person. But then he has weak moments, right? And as you can see, it's kind of like a buildup. When he first tries killing David, it's in like a moment. There's no premeditated attack to kill David the first time he tries to stab him while David's playing music for him. It's an in-the-moment thing when his feelings are getting the best of him. Then after that, he turns to a premeditated attacks. Kind of like an addict who, like, the first time they break, it's in the moment, they're in the bar, and then it's premeditated. Oh, I'm going to go out and drink, and right? It kind of develops, right? Now, the thing about taking a shavua is that I wouldn't recommend anybody here to take a shavua. Taking a shavua is a very serious thing in Judaism. And breaking a shavua is even worse than the sin itself that you're saying you're not going to break. Like, the shavua is very serious, which is why I heard it's a thing that some tzaddikim will take a shavua in order to avoid doing a specific avera. Meaning they want to hold themselves to the fight. It's very risky. Because if you break it, you've now just made the whole situation even worse. But it's kind of a way to hold yourself accountable. Right? So that's what Shaul is attempting to do here. He's attempting, meaning Shaul is acknowledging his own weakness, right? He hears the voice of Yonatan, his son, and he even acknowledges that this is a weak point for him. I'm going to make a shavua not to do it, right? He knows that he needs kind of that extra oomph not to do it. Okay. If you're a David, do you rely on Shaul's shavua? No, right? Because at the end of the day, this is kind of like the sickness, let's call it, that Shaul has. You don't want to put your life on the line, and hopefully he sticks to it. Vayikra Yonatan le David. So Yonatan calls to David. Vayigad lo Yonatan el kol advarim me'ela. And he tells him all these words. Vayova Yonatan es David al Shaul. And then Yonatan brought David to Shaul. Vayihi lefanav ketmol shlshom, and he was in his presence as previous times. So Shaul's a man of his word. Things are back to good. David is even reinstated as the musician, and he's back in his good graces. Everything is back in the previous times. Now, the Mamlos tells us that David had to be convinced by Yonatan. That Yonatan was like, no, he really means it. And David wasn't going to rely on this Shavuot so easily, but Yonatan convinces him. Now, what's interesting is when it says, Vayhi lefanav ketmol shilshom, that he was in his presence as previous times, that's letting us know from Shaul's perspective. Meaning, the next time Shaul tries to kill David, it's not premeditated. It's not because he was making this up over here. Just like in previous times, he did it out of like a weak moment for the first time. The next time he does it, which spoiler alert isn't too psikim, it's going to be a weak moment again, actually the same exact scenario. Meaning Shaul really did mean it that he's going to be in his presence as previous times. It's like a full restart, right? There was like this buildup of try to kill David and then try to kill him and then do it premeditated and come up with all these elaborate plans. We're restarting on that. Welcome.
We got some stuff.
All right, so let's continue. Vatosel Tomachama. Once again, there was war. Liyot veyetzi David veyilachem. Vaplishtim. Vayach behem maka gedola. So David went out to battle, and he gave them a maka gedola. He gave them such a great blow. Vayinasim ipanav, that they fled from before him. Now, this is something that will kind of relate to us nowadays, which is that you see, whenever we have kind of like internal politics going on, like while Shaul is busy scheming against David, that's when the Plishtim plot and attack, right? This is like an old thing throughout Jewish history. When we're concentrating on each other, our enemies have the ability to rise up. But luckily, we had David back then, and David led the war and defeated them. And it actually says that there was something that inspired this war from the last Perek. Can anybody think of anything that would inspire the Plishtim to go out to war again from the last Perek? It was in the title of the Perek that I put on YouTube, the recording. If you're the Plishtim, what really bothers you right now and you're going out to war? And specifically, that's something that David did. It's the second part of the title. the Plishtim thing, right? The 100 foreskins. Shaul made David get 100 foreskins to marry his daughter Michal, just trying to get him killed, put a time limit on it, like this ridiculous like challenge. David actually got 200. And if you think about it, if you're the Plishtim, and the nation next to you, the king, is telling the king's son-in-law to go and kill your people and then circumcise them and then bring back their foreskins, and it kills 200 people, I think you'd be pretty upset. Right? So that's what inspired this war. And the reason why David led this war on the Jewish side is because it was kind of his fault. That wasn't like a battle. It was like a personal mission that David went on. Let's see what happens after that. V'atihi ruach Hashem ra'a el Shaul, and an evil spirit of Hashem came over Shaul. V'hu b'veiso yishev v'chineto, and he would sit in his house with the spear in his hand, b'yado. V'David menagen b'yad, while David played music with his hand, right? Because David's been reinstated as the musician, and David plays music with his hand. Now, what's interesting about this is that David's victory over the Plishtim, which if David is a loyal servant, that should be a good thing. The fact that he's doing Shaul's dirty work, but it actually just makes Shaul more jealous, right? So it's like anything good that David does actually just makes him more jealous. And the wording over here about David playing the music is very interesting. It says, David minagen biyad. David played music with his hand. As opposed to what? Meaning, just say David was playing music, right? David is playing music with his hand. Well, what else would he play music with? So it's telling you something. What's it telling you?
His hands are occupied.
Okay, so first of all, we know that David's occupied, so that's going to make him at risk of whatever Shaul's going to do to him. But as opposed to what? Like when a musician plays music with his heart, right? It's telling you that David's heart's not in it. David at this point, last time when Shaul tried to kill David while playing music, he didn't even know Shaul tried to kill him because he was playing music with his heart. He was into it, right? He had no idea that Shaul had it out for him. At this point, David is on alert, right? He's on alert. Yonatan gave him the information. He doesn't trust Shaul, and when he's playing with one eye open, right? He's paying attention to surroundings. With that being said, the fact that he got saved and he saved himself was still a miracle because, as you said, it's still a very vulnerable position to be playing music in front of the king while he sits there with the spear in his hand. And Shaul thought to himself, he's going to strike David uvakir in the wall with the spear. But he evaded Shaul. He dodged it. And the spear struck the wall. Right. So if you're imagining this, Shaul throws the spear at David at point blank range, and David dodges it and runs out, and the spear is right on the wall where David was just standing. And David fled and escaped on that night. Right? Now, where did David go? He went home. David went home. Vayishlach Shaul malachim el beis David. So Shaul sent messengers to the house of David, l'shamro, to watch him, v'lamito, with the intention of killing him boker in the morning. V'tagelu David Michal ishto. So David's wife Michal tells him, Lemar, im einecha mimaletas nafshecha halayla. If you do not save your soul tonight, machar atar mumat, tomorrow you will be dead. Now, kind of need to. The Loez tells us what's happening here. There's some explaining that we need to understand what's happening here. David runs away, so he knows Shaul tries to kill him, right? He knows that. He goes home. If you're David, wouldn't you get out of town right away? Meaning, what's David thinking? Why does he go home?
He wouldn't kill him in front of Michal.
So, okay, maybe he's not going to kill him then, but wouldn't he just bring him back? What? So, probably not, I didn't hear it. So, the reason why is because if you think about it, David knows Shaul's tendencies here. That Shaul will kill him in the moment, but not necessarily go and get him to kill him. Right? It's kind of like David knows who he's dealing with here. Right? It's kind of the information he got from Yonatan. Right? Shaul is weak. And while David is playing music right in front of him and he was depressed, meaning Shaul's only going to kill him while he's depressed. He goes home, and now that's that extra step, right? It's like alcohol in your home versus alcohol in the bar, right? You got to go across the street. He doesn't think Shaul's going to go out and get him. Now, what does Shaul do in turn? Shaul sends messengers to David's home to watch him at night to make sure David doesn't run away. And in the morning, the messengers are going to say to David, the king feels so bad. He wants to apologize to you. That way the messengers bring him back to the palace. And that way Shaul can kill David in front of his own eyes. Because just sending the messengers to kill David over there is not good enough because you don't necessarily know what happens. Like the conspiracy theories that Osama bin Laden's still alive because they dropped his body in the ocean. Right? So Shaul doesn't want a conspiracy theory. Shaul wants to see David die, and he's kind of trying to frame it that the messengers are there to apologize. And that way he gets David back in the palace, right? And that way he can kill David in front of him in the morning. If he tells the messengers to go apologize now, he doesn't think that David will buy that, right? It's doesn't make any sense. So, who knows her father better than anyone in this situation? What's her name? Her? It's Michal, right? Michal, David's wife, is Shaul's daughter. If David is married to any other woman, she's not going to give him advice here that will ultimately save his life. She knows her father. And she knows this is not just an in-the-moment thing. She knows what her father is planning. She just, woman's intuition, and also as the daughter of the man. And she tells him, if you don't save your soul tonight, right, then tomorrow you will be dead, right? So what does she do? V'tered Michal es David be'ad hachalon. So Michal lowered David out of the window. Vayelech, and he went. Vayivrach, and he ran. Vayimaleit, and he escaped. Right? So she lowers him out of the window, and he escapes. Interesting language over here. Vayelech, he went. Vayivrach, he ran. Vayimaleit, and he escaped. It's literally telling us the details of how he got around the guards, which is that he got out, he tiptoed, or he went, and then he ran, and then he escaped. Now, something amazing about Michal over here is that Michal is the princess, and they had a lot of servants, but she still lowered him out the window herself, which is pretty physically demanding, because she wanted him to take every step to make sure that nobody finds out about this, and you don't know if you could trust any of the servants. The Medrash tells us that this happened on a Friday night. And technically David's breaking Shabbos by going out of the Tchum, but it's Pekuach Nefesh. Okay, so now what does she do? Remember, there's messengers that are watching, right? So David, they're looking to see if there's action inside the home. right? So she wants to stall for time. Vatikach Michal eset trafim. So Michal took this word trafim. Anybody know what that means? Trafim. Yeah, what does that mean? Good guess, but it's translated over here as a lot of ways. We're going to translate it as idols, or like some sort of, something shaped like an idol. Vatasem al hamita, and she put them on the bed, right? So now this idol she puts on the bed to fake it being David, right? Is this like in some Disney movie where somebody does this? Or like somebody hides somebody under a blanket, like I don't know, sounds familiar. Anyways, ve'es kavida izim sama merashosav, and then she puts a goat skin on its head, vaticham babaged, and she covers it with the garment, right? She covers it with the blanket. So now when the messengers take a peek inside of the house, they're going to see David is in bed, sleeping, right? It's the idol underneath the bed, and then goat skin to make it look like a human on top of the idol in the bed. Now, you all should have an amazing question right now, like big question on what? How they fall for it? Okay. I would say before that, we're talking about David and Michal, right? Like, presumably, like, big tzadikah, like, they own idols. So we need to explain that. Why in the world Michal has idols in the house ready to roll? There's actually 5 or so answers given. Anybody have any answers themselves you want to throw out? Yeah, why would David and Michal have idols? So there's one opinion. This is my least favorite opinion. One opinion is that not owning idols is rabbinical, and this is before that. But it's like, well, why then why do they have it though? Like this doesn't really help. Okay, fine, it's not a halacha, but like, what are we doing here, right?
So there's a reminder. It's like believe in Hashem.
I would say that's crazy, right? to have like, it's like having cocaine in your house to remind you to stay away from it. It's like, right? But I mean,
everyone works in different ways.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to give you some of the other answers that I like better. Another answer is that trafim is something that's meant to include anything that looks like a human. Anything that looks like a human form, what we would call an idol, but nowadays you can say a mannequin. Now, why would she have a mannequin? Well, it could be that she made a sculpture of a mannequin that looks exactly like David, just like she's an artist and like that was her husband, and there were no pictures back then. Like that was something she had in the house. Like when David is away, she has a picture of him, so to speak. That's one possible answer given, which makes the messengers falling for it make even more sense, that she literally has a David replica ready to roll, right? That's one answer. Another answer is that trafim is just meant to make something that looks like a human form, meaning not that she even had something human form ready to roll, that she took pillows and shaped it like a human, right? We would call that trafim, but nowadays we just say she took pillows and made it look like a human, right? Another answer would be, this one's very interesting, is that back then, apparently, there was two types of terafim. One that was idols, and one that was some sort of device that can tell you the future. And that she was using this device to have an excuse ready for Shaul, how David knew to go. Meaning when Shaul looks at her and says, why would he run away? Meaning he only ran away because you told him to run away. And she would answer, well, look, here are the terafim. He checked them and then saw that you were going to kill him. And that's why he ran away. So she was already preparing her defense. That's one answer. And those are all the answers. Now, a little bit of a trivia question, Tanach trivia question. Tanach credits 3 women with having saved a life. Now, I think there's more than 3, honestly. But the Momlo says that there's 3 women that were credited with saving a life. Have any guesses? Okay, whose life did Rachel? You're gonna have to say who they saved also. Okay. Yeah. Okay, that's not on. I said to me, there's way more than 3. It's not on the list here. I would agree with that. Also, well, Michal is 1. Okay, Michal is 1. We're working on another 2. Right, Michal is 1. There's another one would be like, I don't know, Esther. No, Perm's coming up. She literally saved like everyone's lives. But that's not one of the 3 given here. The three given here is Michal. The other one is On ben Pelet, the wife of On ben Pelet, who saved her husband from being with Korach's people at the last minute. He was one of the leaders of Korach's party. And then she actually scared Korach's men away by uncovering her hair when they came to go get him. She's like told him wait in bed. And then he just missed the whole Korach situation and he survived it. That's the one he gives over here. And the other one is Serach, the daughter of Asher, who told Yaakov through song that Yosef was still alive. And that saved Yaakov's life. But the far more interesting list over here is the opposite, which is who in Tanach, which three women in Tanach are credited with killing people. That's a more interesting list. Responsible for extinguishing life means a life undeservingly, not deservingly. Meaning they hold the responsibility in their hands. Yeah.
You know that girl that that set up that plan so that he would be able to take the girl by killing the guy. So if you think about it, she technically did cause it.
That's more David, but yeah, but that's indirect. We're talking direct.
Direct slaughter.
Yeah, direct that you do an action.
Cheese and stuff to the king and killed him.
So yeah, that's after Tanakh. But good guess. Yeah. So the question is, three women who are responsible for extinguishing life. I'll just tell them to you. One of them is Izabel. You might not have heard of her. She was the wife of the king Achav, who was one of the kings of the Jews. She tried to kill Eliyahu Navi a lot of times, but she ended up getting her husband killed, Achav. That's one. Another one is Delilah, the wife of Shimshon. She got Shimshon killed. And I bet none of you are ready for the third one. You ready for the third one? She was a Plishti woman, and she told she seduced him multiple times, and she was his wife, but meaning she tried to get him to tell her where his powers come from. Eventually, he gave in and told her that it's his hair. She cut his hair in the middle of the night. Then all the Plishtim came in and tied him up and beat him up and actually rendered him blind, raped him, eventually killed him, a whole thing. She wasn't a good wife. Yeah. And then the third one, you're not ready for the third one? The third one is Chava. Chava, the Loez tells us, is responsible for extinguishing everyone's life because she ate from the fruit, and before that we were all immortal. So Chava is the third one. What?
I was really mad at that police chief.
That's when we got the Chava. Yeah, Chava's holding everyone, right? It's a little intense. Yes.
They didn't know that there was going to be more humans.
Well, meaning until Chava ate from the tree, we were immortal. So she turned us mortal.
Did they know that we were immortal? Did Hashem tell them we were immortal?
Yes. All right, let's continue. Anyways, the Chachamim tell us that he who finds a wife finds good. And it tells us that when they say that sentence, they're saying if you find a wife like Michal, meaning somebody who will choose you over her own family. That's kind of like a level of a wife that they are there for you. She chose David over Shaul. Too much laughing over here. All right, let's continue. So back into the story. Vayishlach Shaul malachim lekachat es David. So in the morning, Shaul sends messengers to get David. Right in the morning, Vatomer. And she says to them, Chalahu, he is sick. She's stalling for more time, right? What's Michal doing here? Michal is getting as much time as possible until Shaul finds out that David's gone. That way David could be way gone, right? So she tells him, David is sick. Vayishlach Shaul el malachim l'rot es David. So then he sends messengers to David, saying, Ha'alu asopa mita alayla mito. So then bring him to me in his bed and I will kill him. Right? Because the messengers come back and say, he's bedridden, right? He's not moving. So Shaul says, all right, go there, pick up his bed, and bring him here. Right? Like, what are you doing? Right? Okay. Vayavav malachim. So the malachim came. V'nei, and behold, at trafim alamita, it's idols in the bed. It's an idol in the bed. Ukaver izim ereshasav, with goatskin on his head. Vayomer Shaul el Michal. So Shaul says to Michal, when the word gets back to him, Lama, why? Kava ramisini. Why have you deceived me? Vatishlachi sov, and you let my enemy, vayimaleit, you let my enemy escape. Vatomer Michal el Shaul. So Michal says to her father Shaul, she needs to have an excuse. And she says, Hu amar, he said, alai to me, shachini lama, let me escape, or why amitech, or why should you die? So she tells Shaul that he threatened me with his life. Now, does that answer work with the answer we originally gave about why she used the terafim? That, meaning we said that one of the reasons she used the terafim is to tell Shaul that's how he knew. The answers actually work. Meaning that's how he knew to run away, but I didn't let him run away. He told me, I'm going to kill you if you don't let me. So the two answers actually work together, and it's a good enough excuse that Shaul does nothing about it. There's different opinion. I don't know. What's your opinion? Do you think Shaul believed Michal?
No.
You don't think so? It doesn't tell us. I personally don't think Shaul believed Michal. I think Shaul's greatest fear, as we said before, was that Michal will ultimately choose David over him. And I don't think it's necessarily shocking to him. But she still made a pretty legitimate excuse.
You did seem pretty shocked.
But you see his assumption is that she deceived him. Right, but she said, why have you deceived me? So you see his assumption right away. I don't know if her excuse convinced him or not.
Her excuse only works for why he escaped, not why she deceived him.
Right, meaning
Once he was gone, she didn't have to lie.
she didn't have to keep lying. Right, that's also true. So it doesn't even work, right? It's like she definitely, there's no way around that. She definitely, or maybe she could say, I was afraid that if I didn't do that, he'd know and come back and kill me. I don't know, right? Maybe she would stretch that. Shaul does nothing to her. So she is his daughter. So that's not to say that he didn't believe her. But anyways, let's continue. But David, Barach, and David ran away. And he came to Shmuel, Haramata, in the Ramah. Vayagad lo, and he told him, everything the Shaul tried to do to him. Nayot, and him and Shmuel went and stayed at Nayot. Now, if you're David, why do you run to Shmuel? If you're David, why do you run to Shmuel? Not just that, he's the greatest prophet, also the prophet that anointed you, and the prophet that anointed Shaul. So if anybody's going to have answers, David's really going to him and telling him, I'm suffering. You came and anointed me, and you know what's happened to me since then? My life's been turned upside down like Will Smith, right? Like everything's been terrible. That's what Shaul, that's what David says to Shmuel, right? And he wants answers. Like why is everything, answer me, prophet, right? What's interesting is that they learn all night. It actually says, it says Haramata, they went to a higher level. They spent the entire night learning, and they actually learned the book of Yeshua together. That's what it says. They learned the book of Yeshua together. The Mom Loez tells us that, in order to figure out where the Bet HaMikdash is supposed to be built. Because Shmuel actually comforts David by telling him, your son is going to be the one to build the Bet HaMikdash, and gives him the blueprints on how to build it. So that's comforting. That means you're going to survive this. That means that you're going to end up being king. That means you're going to be able to, your son's going to build a Bet HaMikdash, and you get the blueprints, and they have to figure it out together, learning all night. So David is comforted by Shmuel in that. And something you see that's amazing about David over here is that if you have a lot on your mind and you're running away from your wife, right? Like you're leaving your family behind, and life's pretty bad. A lot of people spend it like in the classic in a movie scene. You're like at the bar just getting drunk. Like David's like sitting there learning with Shmuel on that night, right? Now, let's answer David's question. I think it's a question a lot of people have in general about their own lives. Is why this is something that's personally gave me a lot of chizuk, which is why do you have to suffer, right? David's question to Shmuel is why am I suffering? So there's a bunch of reasons that's given over here. The first reason is to make him suitable for kingship, right? That's how you create, kind of the character arc of a person. How you create, our trials and tribulations in life is really what makes us, right? It's what makes us, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And in order to become a king, there's a difference between a king that's born into kingship and a king that gets it out the mud, right? Like somebody who's the shepherd and this and that. It's different. So the suffering is going to make him suitable for kingship. Not just that, but a king who has suffered will have compassion on his subjects. Specifically, a king who was chased by the current king, right? How many people are born into a royal family and then abuse the people because they don't relate to the people? David is being chased by the king and knows how well the abuse of power can be. That's going to make him an incredible king because he's not going to chase people and try to kill them unless they really deserve it because he's experienced it firsthand. Another reason is to cleanse him of sin. Similarly, before we got the Torah, we went through Mitzrayim to cleanse us of sin, right? Suffering is something that gives us a kapara, cleans our soul. Another answer is to teach him the art of strategy. Very practically, being a king comes with a lot of responsibility, and now he has to weigh all sorts of, when he's going to be on the run from Shmuel, he's going to run into all sorts of situations. And lastly, is to show him that Hashem is always by his side. Meaning, as his story goes on, his feet are going to be dangling by the edge multiple times, where Shaul is going to get him, and every time it's going to be an obvious save by Hashem. So that kind of gets him and Hashem. You get closer with Hashem through suffering, right? When you have something hard in life, that's when you turn to Hashem and you daven. When things are good, maybe now you start chilling. So bad times can actually make you closer to Hashem and get you to trust in Hashem more. There's actually a list over here that there are 4 things that you can only acquire through suffering. Meaning there's no way to acquire these 4 things without suffering. Other ways too, but you need to suffer. The 4th on the list is the only one that doesn't apply to everyone. That's kingship, which is we're saying. The other 3 applies to every Jew. Anybody have any guesses as to what those 3 things are that you need to suffer in order to acquire them? Israel's one of them. Olam Haba, and Torah. Beautiful. Those are the 3 things. Which is like, I don't want to make a correlation of like Mitzrayim to like the Torah, but right before Israel was the Holocaust, which is like, if you think about it, we couldn't get a land for 2,000 years, and then 3 years after like the worst thing to happen to us, in 2,000 years we get it. It's like, that doesn't make any sense. So it's like the correlation just feels obvious to the point that Israel has Yom HaShoah a week before Yom HaTzmaut. So you see there's like some sort of, who knows why the Holocaust happened, but there's some sort of suffering to get Israel first, right? Yeah.
I have a question on the Torah.
Yes.
So listen, I have this cousin. He's like in like Shana Gimel in Israel right now, and I always tell him, you always learn. You don't want to come out. Like, why don't you come out with me a little bit? Go to shoot some pool or something. This will be fun. And he always says, you don't know what's fun until you start learning, until you open the Kabbalah. So how is it suffering to experience Torah when it seems like it's been pleasure to experience Torah?
Great question. I think Keith has an answer.
No, Torah's great. I love Torah.
So you're making this question even stronger. That's a good question. Let's
just because you enjoy it, that doesn't mean it's not hard work.
Right, so that's another answer.
Well, you can toil in something, you work hard at something, and still be enjoyable.
You ever hear NBA players that go be like, I work so hard, whatever. It's like you're playing basketball. like I would love to do that for a living, but they're saying no. Even though I love it, I'm getting up, as Keith is saying, at 5 a.m. and physically demanding. So maybe the answer is simple, that you can love Torah, but it's not the type of thing that you can love only because it's pleasure. It's not like watching a movie that I love watching movies, but you don't have to like work hard to watch a movie. Maybe it's like it's a skill that you have to really toil in, and you can love it. Maybe you can love the outcome, or you can love the process, or you have to push yourself. I would agree with Keith's answer. Oriel as an answer. Right. So you love the outcome, and you love how it makes you feel at the end. Like, I don't like working out. I like the feeling after I worked out, like type thing. Right. Or maybe in order to start liking it, you have to hate it at first. I don't know if that's also true.
Is that Torah is suffering, or you have to suffer to receive?
You have to suffer to receive Torah.
So the Torah is not the suffering.
Right, but he was saying, like, I could just sit and learn Torah, and if I love it, I love it. Like, meaning, maybe, but that's also a great point. That
suffered
maybe suffered before. Yeah. It's a good point. Yes. Yeah. Ben hurt his shoulder so that way he can go learn Torah. All right. Let's see. Do you guys have the ability to go another 5 psukim or no? Yeah, 5 psukim? All right. Because what's about to happen right now? V'yigad l'Shaul. It's told over to Shaul. Lamar saying, Hinei behold David, b'nei Ramah. David is at Nayot in Ramah. So Shaul finds out where David is. He finds out where David is. And it's interesting, the location over here is Nayot in the Ramah. The Momlos says that maybe like Nayot is like downtown Ramah where Shmuel hangs out, and that's where he has all the student prophets, and he's just had a whole district of prophecy over there. Like, kind of just interesting to imagine. Vayishlach Shaul. So Shaul sent malachim messengers, lakachat es David, to take David. Vayar ala kata neviim. And when they got there, they saw the bands of prophets, Nebi'im, prophesying. Ushmuel omeid, with Shmuel standing, nitzav aleim, in front of them. Vatihi al malach el shol rach elokim. And then the Spirit of Hashem came over to them, the messengers. Vayitnabu'u gam hema. And they too started to prophesy. Right? So picture what's happening. Shaul sends messengers to go and find David. They get to Nayot, downtown Ramah, the district of prophecy, and Shmuel over there is leading all of the prophets to all prophesizing. Anybody have any guesses what the prophecy is?
That David is going to be the king.
Their prophecy is David is going to be the next king. That's what the messengers hear. Now, when they hear that, they're like, I don't want to go. You guys want to bring David? Everybody's prophesying he's going to be the next king. I'm not touching like David, right? And then what ends up happening to them is that the prophecy ends up getting to them, which we're going to talk about is a crazy phenomenon, right? Vayigidu l'Shol, and it's told over to Shol. Vayishlach malachim acherim, so he sends another set of messengers. Vayitnebu gam hema, and they too start to prophesy. Vayisef Shol vayishlach malachim shlishim, so he sends a third set of messengers. Vayitnebu gam hema, and they too start to prophesy. Now, after 3 strikes and you're out, what does Shol do? What does Shol do? Vayilech gam hu haramata, so he too goes to Ramah. V'yavar arbor hagadol, and gets to this great pit, asher b'seicho, that's in Seicho, v'yishal, v'yomer. And he asks the question, Eifo Shmuel b'David, v'yomer, and it's told to him, v'hinei b'nevel Ramah, he is there by Nayot and the Ramah, v'yelech sham al Nayot Ramah, and Shaul heads over there to Nayot at the Ramah, v'atihil love gam kurach elokim, and him also a spirit of prophecy comes over to him before he even gets there, v'yelech halach v'yinabei ad ba'ober Nayot Ramah, and he starts prophesying as he's walking into the Nayot in the Ramah. Now, what we see over here is that Shaul had already experienced prophecy in his life before. That he already got the spirit of prophecy before he even got there, versus his messengers had to be there for a long time to get it. Now, he got prophecy before he got there, and he's going there as he walks in. We'll speak about kind of what this means. Let's do the last pasuk. Vayivshat gamhu begadav, and then he took off his clothes. Vayitna be gamhu, and he also started to prophesy l'fnei Shmuel, in front of Shmuel. Vayipal arom kol hayom, and he was stripped of his senses all day. Hahu v'kol halayla, and all night. Al kain, therefore yomer, they say hagam Shaul b'neviim, is Shaul too among the prophets, is Shaul too a navi. So we need to explain what's going on here. It's very trippy stuff. So here's the best way to explain it. First of all, Shaul shows up, he takes off his clothes, and he puts on, there's an opinion that he took off his royal clothes and put on the student garments, he started to blend in, which is because he was embarrassed to be there. Because the last time he was in front of Shmuel, Shmuel told him Hashem is going to replace you with a better man. And now here he is, still holding on to the kingship, and he doesn't want to dress in his royal clothes, and he's embarrassed. But what's really going on here? What's going on here is somebody is turning all these people into prophets. Who is it? Who is it? Shmuel. Shmuel is giving prophecy to them. Now, when Shmuel gives prophecy to Shaul, prophecy is a crazy experience. There's different levels, based off my understanding. Moshe is the only person, or maybe Yoshua and Shmuel are a level below them. I'm not exactly sure what the rankings are. I think Shmuel is considered the second greatest prophet ever, where it's they can experience prophecy, not in basic level prophets, it's only in a dream. If you're awake, it's a prophetic trance, it's very intense, right? So what ends up happening when Shmuel is giving prophecy to all these messengers and to Shaul, it gives David the ability to escape, because it's kind of he just drugged them up, right? That's what it's like. It's like they're on drugs, right? Now, what's interesting about this is that I don't know any other instance in Tanach where somebody else can give somebody prophecy by osmosis. It's kind of like you hanging out next to Michael Jordan, he makes you good at basketball. It makes no sense. It's what is a prophet? A prophet is somebody who's worked on their skills to get close to Hashem and hone their skills. How are they giving somebody else prophecy? Right? That's unbelievable. Just I'm a really good ballet dancer, now you're a really good ballet dancer because I just snapped my fingers, right? It's crazy, right? Now, even more than that, one of the things to acquire prophecy, this is something we spoke about in class. What's one of the things to acquire prophecy? With the story of Yosef and Yaakov, when Yaakov sells Yosef. When Yosef is sold, what happens to Yaakov?
He gets
what happens to his prophecy when Yosef is sold?
it gets unclear because he's not dead. Because he didn't know if he was alive or not.
So therefore, how was Yaakov feeling emotionally? Sad. You can't experience prophecy while you're sad, right? That was part of the brothers' plan, that when we sell him, our father won't know what happened, even though he's a prophet, because he's going to be sad, right? You need to be happy in order to feel Hashem's presence, in order to feel prophecy, right? For Shmuel to give the messengers who are not prophets prophecy is crazy. I've never seen that in Tanach. I don't know if it's ever been done. It's like, I can look into it, I'm not sure. But it's definitely a crazy thing to give them prophecy. What's even crazier is to give Shaul prophecy. Because what's the main thing that we know about Shaul? He's depressed. Yaakov couldn't even get prophecy. Yaakov Avinu, one of the greatest people to ever live, couldn't get prophecy, even though he's a great prophet because he was depressed. Shmuel is giving another person prophecy, which is crazy enough. Not just that, giving a depressed person prophecy. Just like at force, against his will, just so David can get away. Which now we understand the last line, when everybody says, Al Kain Yomru, Hagam Shaul B'Neviim, is Shaul too a prophet? They're like, what is going on here? This is an amazing miracle that Shmuel is doing over here, giving them prophecy. The point of all this is so David can run away, which is the end of our Perek. David does run away, and we're going to see where he runs to next time to get away from Shaul. Anybody have any guesses? Where does he run to? If you're David, your first person to run to is Shmuel, the greatest prophet of your generation. That makes sense. Now that you have to run away from there, who do you run to? Who's the person you trust most? So, Yonatan, right? That's who he's going to run to. We're going to see what happens over there. All right, Shkoyach for joining.